Saturday, Who Dat Nation. Welcome into Saints Now by Chat Sports. We got to go through the weird world of wide receivers because Brandon Aiyuk, Brandin Cooks, a poison pill, and a conspiracy? Oh yeah, we're breaking it all down here on the show. Plus, going to get into a mailbag where y'all ask questions during our live show. So friendly reminder to subscribe to the channel. We will be live for game day versus the Falcons tomorrow. Hope to see y'all there. Alrighty, so first things first, let's start off with Brandon Aiyuk. So that's the big storyline across the NFL. Yesterday, Dainna Russini Reports that Aiyuk's 2026 guarantees have been voided by the 49ers. And just quick thing here, I'm just going to basically tell y'all what I know. I'm going to give you my take, and I'm going to give you some opinions and just kind of sprinkle in everything that you guys need to know. So 15 months after signing a 4-year extension worth $120 million, the 49ers and Brandon Aiyuk seem to be heading towards a split, which is really, really shocking. Remember all of the drama and all the things that happened between the Brandon Aiyuk contract extension and then the holdouts and then everything that happened in between that. It was nuts. The 49ers are expected to release Brandon Aiyuk after this season. He failed to attend meetings, declined to participate in team activities in recent months. And for what it's worth in terms of his availability and his injury status, he suffered a season-ending knee injury last October. He was placed on the PUP list in July and has yet to be activated. It's now likely that he has played his last game in San Francisco, according to numerous sources, which is pretty crazy, all things considered. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say that the New Orleans Saints need to go and sign Brandon Aiyuk, but I don't think it would be a bad idea to at least do your due diligence here. All things considered, there is a lot of a distraction in Brandon Aiyuk, and there seems to be a lot of chaos around him right now and over the last few years, to be totally honest. But when he's focused and when he's playing football, he is a very, very good wide receiver, and New Orleans does not have a lot of wide receiver depth, nor do they have a lot of high-end talent in that room right now. You traded away Rashid Shaheed, Brandin Cooks. We're going to talk about him in a moment, but looks like we don't really know what the future is there. But other than that, you have Chris Olave, Devon Vele, Kevin Austin Jr., and Mason Tipton. Not going to get it done. So I think the New Orleans Saints do not need to prioritize signing Brandon Aiyuk, but I think they need to prioritize adding high-end wide receiver talent. So let's do our due diligence, kick the tires, see what it's going to cost, see what was going on, peel behind the curtain, and try to figure out what caused all of this rift so that way we could see, is it going to happen again in New Orleans if there's serious interest? I don't know if there will be interest. I don't know if the Saints will do it. To be totally honest, I just want them to kick the tires and see what happens. But I do want to say proceed with caution. Let me know in the comment section, would you sign Brandon Aiyuk in the New Orleans Saints, or to the New Orleans Saints this offseason? Share your thoughts and let me know. Excuse me. Let's talk about this poison pill. Okay. So this is kind of interesting here. Remember earlier in the week, reports are that too many Brandons. Reports earlier in the week that Brandin Cooks, he is going to be waived, mutually agreed. Both parties agreed to part ways. Kellen Moore addressed it to media. It's been all over national sports news, everything. But now we have a new rift in all of this. So the Saints added a poison pill to the Brandin Cooks contract. This coming in from ProFootballTalk, a whole report. Highly encourage you to check it out. There's a ton of good information in there. Full transparency, dumb brain me wanted to just get all the spark notes and give it to you. So the poison pill, forgive me for reading my notes here. It was one that contained a poison, or the contract contained a poison pill aimed at making it unattractive to claim him on waivers. So Brandin Cooks, there was belief that he had a team in mind and it was a contender. And so the Saints and Brandin Cooks, they tried to kind of redo some things in their contract to make the split a little bit easier. It was supposed to help him clear waivers so that it would become so that Cooks would become a free agent. And despite an effort to clean it up with another revised deal, the rules for the NFL may now prevent the Saints from releasing him, which is unbelievable. There is now a full-blown conspiracy involving the Saints, another team, Brandin Cooks' agent, and if the NFL lets Cooks get released, the league as well. So that is something really weird to monitor. I don't know if there's any punishment. I don't know if there's going to be anything that happens to the Saints. I sure as hell hope they don't do all this to lose any prime draft capital or have to suspend somebody or whatever. Like, all that for Brandin Cooks would not make me feel that great. The Saints agreed that Cooks would be released with an agreement by the player to forego all rights to balance the 2025 salary as termination pay if and when he cleared waivers. The problem is that the NFL rules prohibit a team from creating a deterrent to waiver claims. A source reported there is a story here that some want to go away quickly, but because the contracts were posted, teams know and want blood. That same source was the one who said there's a full-blown conspiracy going on right now. The Saints just can't not just win games and just be chill. We can't just have a normal day. It's like that meme. 0 days since our last nonsense in New Orleans, clearly. I'll tell you what, if there's any severe punishment over Brandin Cooks' contract, not going to sit right. Going to go ahead and say that. It's not going to sit right. No disrespect to Cooks, but I don't think he's the player that's worth losing everything or potentially having some severe punishment. I don't know what that would look like. We're going to have to wait to see what finds out. We're going to have to wait to see what happens with Brandin Cooks. We're going to have to see if he gets released. I don't know, but we'll find out here in the near future. Mailbag is going to be coming after this ad read here in just one moment, so stick around, listen to today's presenting sponsor, support the show, and help yourself out. And then I hope you enjoy the mailbag. Have a great college football Saturday. My name is Trizzy. We will see you guys on game day.
First, got to thank today's presenting sponsor, and that is PrizePicks. I love PrizePicks, and I play it every single game day. And to be totally honest, I think you should too. Why? Because I got a pretty good hookup for you. If you download PrizePicks and you use code CLNS, you'll get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. We make decisions every single day, but over on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. I always tell Maddie, you're always right. Download PrizePicks and let's start turning your right opinions and your ball knowledge into cold, hard cash. Everyone knows Jersey doesn't know ball, but my girlfriend Maddie has extensive ball knowledge. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. PrizePicks and how you play is up to you. If you want flexibility, choose the flex play, where you can get paid even if one of your picks miss. And it's so simple to play. You just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats, and if you get your picks right, you cash in. Here's an example. I got the New Orleans Saints absolutely lighting it up against the Atlanta Falcons, taking the more on Chris Olave's passing or receiving yards. I think he's going to have a big day with Tyler Shuck. And I think Tyler Shuck going to have a really big day with Chris Olave. So I'm taking the more on these two, kind of double dipping. So that way when Shuck throws the ball to Olave, it kind of contributes there. But look, Kirk Cousins is going to be missing Drake London, taking the less on his passing yards. And I think Quincy Riley and Kool-Aid McKinstry are going to do some good things against Atlanta. So if you want to fade these picks, if you want to tell the picks, don't care what you do. Just make sure you do it with PrizePicks. $20 on that lineup wins $105. So if you want to take advantage, download PrizePicks today. And by the way, friendly reminder, use that code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. When you download PrizePicks app, use the code CLNS, and you will get your $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Shout out to PrizePicks, where it's good to be right. All that information is in the comments and description of this video. All right, let's get to the first question. Aiden, what do you think the odds are of the Saints winning out? I don't think that they'll win out. Lopez, if you don't mind, let's go to that remaining schedule graphic. I do think that 7 total wins is not far-fetched to say. Right now, at the time of filming this, entering Week 12, you're 2-8. You, in my opinion, will beat the Falcons this week. The Dolphins, you could beat them. That's 2. The Bucs will be tough. Don't know what will happen there, but we will see. The Panthers, you already beat them once. Who's to say we can't do it again? That would be 3 wins. The Jets, that should be a win. That's 4. The Falcons and the Titans probably beat both of those teams. Let's say you beat the Titans once and you lose the Falcons once. That's 5 new wins. That's 7 total. Your opponents have a very bad record moving forward. Like, I don't think that the odds of winning out are tremendously high. I also don't think it's crazy to say that they will do that or that they could do that. I think like 4 or 5 wins, though, is a little bit more realistic. Lopez, what do you think about this remaining schedule?
I'll actually give you a little bit of a hot take.
Okay.
I think they finish above 500 in that 8-game stretch.
I like it.
Or
I like it.
7-game stretch. I think they're over 500 in that. So either 4-3, 5-2 maybe.
Yeah. No, I like that.
I saw a lot of winnable games.
Yes. The Jets is let's say definite wins. Jets, Titans, Falcons at home. Those are definite wins. That's 3 wins. You definitely could beat the Titans. The Panthers you already beat once. Who's to say you can't do that again?
Dolphins.
Any given Sunday with Dolphins. Any given Sunday, maybe you beat the Bucks. I think they will.
If you catch them on like a bad week, maybe.
Yeah, you catch them on a bad week. Maybe you get a lucky break somehow, some way. Like, I don't think that they will, but like I do think that, like you said, 500 is a good take.
A little disappointing because I think we won't be getting that high of a draft pick as we were talking about earlier in the year. But you know what? If it's fun football and we're playing great,
yeah,
I get excited for it.
And look, if you're winning games, that should be really exciting. If your first year with a new head coach and a new system and a rebuild is more wins than it was last year, and it's like 7 wins, like that's
a plus.
That's a
win.
big win.
You feel like this was a successful year.
That's a success. That is more than a successful season.
Maybe you feel differently. I feel like the first few weeks I was like, this season is not a win. This is a throw it down the drain.
Yes.
This season sucked.
Yes, but now that we're getting into the back half and we're starting to see kind of things take shape, it's a little bit different now. Aiden, appreciate the question, brother. Jerry G, what's your favorite Saints-Falcons rivalry moment? This is a fun one. There's so many good ones. Pick any Cam Jordan sack against Matt Ryan. Pick any of those. There's a lot of them, so that's pretty fun. The Shy Tuttle stiff arm on Matt Ryan, that was pretty great. Obviously, I'm a little bit younger, so there's some of those deep history games that I won't be saying, but was it 2022, 2021? I can't remember what year it was, but when Jameis and Michael Thomas and Chris Olave and Jarvis Landry went in and beat the Falcons on the road in a crazy comeback. Was that 2021, 2022? I can't remember, but yeah. But that game was on. How do you feeling, Jameis? There's pain everywhere. But we're just gonna make it through. And I'm like, we were going to the Super Bowl that year. Mike Thomas was back, dude. It was electric. That was a fun one. Lopez, I want to hear from you on this one.
The obvious one that stands out is that Shy Tuttle. It had the perfect just aura around it with it being the stiff arm, being on Thanksgiving, he gets the turkey after.
Yeah.
Aura-filled moment there, aura-filled night. Drew Brees' spin move.
Yes.
The Drew Brees spin move.
Yes.
I have never seen him move like that before, but I loved it.
Electric. So, fun fact, Maddie went to the Falcons versus Saints Thanksgiving game in Atlanta. So she got to go see Drew Brees play live before I did, and I never did actually, so that's pretty cool to know. But she was on the her aunt was a Falcons fan, and by Falcons fan, she knew people who worked for the Falcons or whatever. Yeah. So that was pretty interesting. My girlfriend got to go see that Thanksgiving game, and she was like on the sideline for part of it. It's pretty crazy, but I'm not jealous or bitter about it whatsoever. Not even a little bit. All right, hot take. Taysom remains unstoppable versus Atlanta. Look, I don't think Taysom Hill is the player he used to be. I also think that he owns Atlanta. I just think he does. I think he is the mayor of that city. I do caution the Saints from trying to force feed Taysom Hill because I don't want to just to lean on that because it's worked all the other times in the past. It's very apparent Taysom Hill isn't the player he used to be. That being said, Lopez, if you disagree with me, feel free to chime in. But I just feel like Taysom Hill should be a part of the game plan, but not be a focal point. I don't know how you feel about that.
I don't know if this is going to be the game for him, but I will agree with the hot take. We are going to have one Taysom Hill game.
Yes.
There's going to be one game where we're like, he's so back.
He's so back. He never left.
He'll get 2, maybe 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Maybe have a rip off a long run. He's due for that game. He does it every year.
Yep.
I don't know if that's going to be this week. Yep. It would be amazing if it is.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think that this is one of those games that could be the Taysom Hill game, but at the end of the day, it'll also be It'll be kind of crazy to see him have a multi-touchdown game, but if there is a team who's going to do it too, it's going to be the Falcons. Ben, sign Breece Hall from free agency, draft a young tight end. I actually really like this plan. I think you need to, when it comes to the Saints offense, you need to plan for life after Alvin Kamara. What I do caution you on is the contract you pay to Breece Hall. I just think that it would be a wise decision to not overpay and overpromise there, so that way you don't continue this habit of bad spending. However, I love Breece Hall, and I think that would be a really fun addition, especially considering the running back room in New Orleans is fairly young outside of Alvin Kamara. It doesn't have a lot of NFL experience. Kendre Miller just hasn't proven to be healthy. I think that running back is an underrated need for New Orleans. I think that Breece Hall would be a fun one, but that's like if you're going to break the bank, that's the player I want. But, I don't necessarily know if it's realistic. However, drafting a tight end, absolutely. I love Max Clare. I love Eli Stowers. Kenyon Sadiq, the Oregon tight end, really like him. There's a handful of good ones out there. I definitely think tight end should be a priority. Go get somebody who can, help be a prevalent part of this offense. Kellen Moore's offenses have always thrived when they have a good tight end in the fold. I can't say it. Jeez, good Lord. All right, what up, Nola Chop? What are some keys for the Saints to get a victory of the Falcons? I'll give you three. I'll give you three key ones. We'll pop up my graphics for keys to victory that we've done. We talked about this in a preview earlier this week. I've had a couple of conversations about this already in general. But in terms of my keys to victory, you can see them on screen offensively. Protect Tyler Shuck. I think it's a big one. The Atlanta Falcons do have a quality pass rush. They have a lot of players who are going to get after Shuck. They're going to try to make him make rookie mistakes. You got to find a way to protect him, especially in the interior of the offensive line. I'd rather feed Devin Neal than Taysom Hill. I want to see him get more opportunities. I want to see Devon Bailey and Juwan Johnson be incorporated into the game plan in a heavy way as well. Chris Olave, let's give him some chances to feast because we know what he's capable of doing, and he's really starting to take some strides this season. But defensively, get after Kirk Cousins. You got to pressure that guy. He is a statue in the pocket. He's somebody that I think the Saints should not have much of a problem defending, both when it comes to rushing the passer, but also in terms of coverage. I think the Saints, especially knowing that Drake London is not going to be in the mix, I think the Saints should have a good day defensively in this game. But Bijan Robinson's the guy you got to limit. Like that's going to be the big one. You got to keep him from beating you all game long. You cannot let him have a generational historic game, because if you do, it's going to be like the Eagles game last year where you had a chance and you didn't win it. You got to give your team a chance to win. And overall, just play clean football. Play a cleaner brand of football than the Falcons and get out of their way, because we all know that they will end up blowing a lead if they get one. All right, Trizian Lopez, if you were the Saints, would you like to get Quay Walker from Green Bay? He'd be a good fit, especially when you think about Demario Davis. He's a free agent 2026. I mean, sure, like it would be cool to have him here, but do you really want to spend a lot of money there? Like, that's kind of my question. Do you want to spend a shit ton of money on a player right now when you could just let Danny Stutzman get into the mix? Like, personally, I'm good on signing Quay Walker because I'd rather spend money elsewhere. I think the plan would be Demario Davis somewhat on a cheap deal. You figure out what to do with Pete Werner, and if Demario doesn't, Demario retires. And if he does retire, then you just roll with Pete Werner and Danny Stutzman, and you figure out kind of the linebacker rotation moving forward. Quay Walker's a good player. I just caution you to spend big money on a position where you've already added some guys for the future. Lopez.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat, especially with Quay Walker. He's going to be one of the top free agents this year, so he's going to demand that big money. And if we're going to spend money like that, I would rather see it go towards, like, the offensive line. I think if you're trying to get a Quay Walker, go to the draft and hope you hit on a guy. But in free agency, I would rather see us spend our bigger money to protect what could be our franchise quarterback.
Yeah, if it's between spend money on a guard or spend money on Quay Walker, I'm picking a guard 10 out of 10 times. If I could get a top guard or the top linebacker, I'm taking the top guard, not even thinking about it. Not even thinking about it. Because I also think you could bring back Demario Davis on a cheaper deal. And honestly, I don't think that's something outlandish to say it could happen. All right, appreciate you guys for tuning into today's video. My name is Trizzy Trace Gerard from my guy Loco Lopez. This has been Saints Now by Chat Sports. We gave you guys some updates on the Chris Olave extension. It's in the works, and Olave hopes to get a deal done soon. We also had some fun answering some questions and responding to some hot takes from you. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Y'all stay golden, and we'll see you next time.